Hey there, soup lovers! Are you tired of the same old chicken noodle or tomato soup? Well, today's your lucky day. Get ready to dive into 5 unique and delicious soup recipes that you've probably never tried before. Trust me, your taste buds are in for a treat. We're going to elevate your soup game, turning you from a soggy noodle novice into a culinary hero. These recipes are packed with flavor and are surprisingly easy to make. So grab your aprons, sharpen your knives, and let's get cooking. Alright, you lot. Let's turn up the heat with this spicy coconut curry soup. This dish is not just a meal, it's an experience, a journey for your taste buds. This one's a real showstopper, packed with vibrant flavors that'll transport you straight to the beaches of Thailand. Imagine the sun, the sand, and the tantalizing aroma of street food wafting through the air. Don't even think about using that dull curry powder from the back of your pantry. It's time to elevate your cooking game. We're using fresh, fragrant red curry paste for an explosion of flavor. This paste is the heart and soul of our dish, bringing in that authentic Thai essence. First, crank up the heat and get a good quality pot nice and hot. The right temperature is crucial to unlocking all those wonderful flavors. Now drizzle in some oil. I like to use coconut oil here for an extra layer of coconutty goodness. It adds a subtle sweetness and richness to the soup. Once the oil is shimmering, toss in your curry paste. This is where the magic begins. And don't you dare rush this step. Patience is key to developing those deep, complex flavors. Let that paste sizzle and bloom for a good minute or two, releasing all its incredible aroma. You want to see it bubble and hear it sizzle. You should be able to smell those fragrant spices filling your kitchen. It's a sensory delight. Next, pour in your coconut milk. This is what gives our soup its creamy, luscious texture. We're going for a rich, creamy base, so don't skimp on the good stuff. The quality of your coconut milk can make or break this dish. Give it a good stir, making sure that curry paste is fully incorporated into the coconut milk. You want a smooth, even mixture? Bring it up to a simmer and let those flavors meld together. This is where the soup starts to come alive. Now for the good stuff, the veggies. They add color, texture, and a burst of freshness. I'm using a colorful mix of bell peppers, onions, and some finely sliced chilies for an extra kick. Feel free to add your favorite vegetables. Toss them into the simmering coconut milk and let them cook until they're tender, but still have a bit of bite to them. This ensures they retain their vibrant colors and flavors. We don't want a mushy mess, do we? The perfect texture is key to a delightful eating experience. While the veggies are simmering away, let's talk about protein. This is where you can customize the soup to your liking. This soup is fantastic with some juicy prawns or some tender chicken breast. Both options work beautifully with the rich, spicy broth. Simply add your protein of choice towards the end of the cooking time, ensuring it's cooked through. This way, it stays tender and flavorful. And for the finishing touch, a squeeze of fresh lime juice. This is the secret to balancing all those rich, spicy flavors. This will brighten up all those incredible flavors and add a touch of acidity that cuts through the richness of the coconut milk. It's the perfect final flourish to our flavor explosion. Right, enough of that spice. Let's try something a bit more refined, shall we? We're diving into a dish that combines sophistication with simplicity. This roasted beet and apple soup is a beautiful balance of sweet and earthy flavors. It's a dish that not only looks stunning but also tastes divine. It's elegant, vibrant, and surprisingly simple to make. With just a few ingredients, you can create a masterpiece that will impress any guest. First, we're going to roast those beets until they're tender and sweet. Roasting brings out their natural sugars, making them even more delicious. Don't even think about boiling them. Boiling can dilute their flavor, and we want to keep all that goodness intact. Roasting intensifies their natural sweetness and gives the soup a wonderful depth of flavor. It's a step you won't want to skip. Scrub your beets well, give them a drizzle of olive oil, wrap them in foil, and pop them in a preheated oven. This method ensures they cook evenly and retain their moisture. We want them fork tender, which should take about an hour or so, depending on the size of your beets. Patience is key here. While the beets are roasting, let's prepare the rest of our ingredients. This way everything will be ready to go once the beets are done. Dice an onion, no tears please, we're not making a tragedy here. Onions add a lovely base flavor to our soup. And grab an apple. I like to use a Granny Smith for its tartness, but feel free to experiment with your favorites. The apple adds a nice contrast to the earthy beets. Once the beets are cool enough to handle, peel off the skins. They should slip right off. This part is quite satisfying, trust me. Now chop those beets into chunks, along with the apple and onion. Make sure everything is roughly the same size for even cooking. In a large pot or Dutch oven, heat a glug of olive oil over medium heat. This will be the base for sautéing our vegetables. Add the chopped onions and cook until softened and translucent. This should take about 5-7 minutes. Now toss in the chopped beets and apples and cook for another few minutes, allowing the flavors to meld. This step is crucial for building the soup's flavor profile. Pour in your vegetable broth, enough to cover the vegetables. The broth will help to bring all the flavors together. Bring it up to a simmer, and let it bubble away for about 15 minutes, or until the beets are completely tender. This simmering time allows the ingredients to fully integrate. Now for the fun part, blending. This is where the magic happens, transforming our chunky ingredients into a smooth, velvety soup. Carefully transfer the soup to a blender, and for God's sake, let it cool slightly first, unless you want hot soup erupting all over your kitchen. Safety first, folks. Blend until you have a silky, smooth, vibrantly colored soup. The final result should be a feast for both the eyes and the palate. Chapter 3. Moroccan Lentil Soup. A taste of Marrakesh. Listen up, because this Moroccan lentil soup is a real game changer. It's hearty, flavorful, and packed with exotic spices that'll transport you straight to the bustling souks of Marrakesh. Let's start by building up those incredible Moroccan flavors. Grab a large pot or Dutch oven and heat a generous drizzle of olive oil over medium heat. Add finely chopped onions and let them cook until softened and translucent. No excuses for burnt onions. Now it's time for the magic, the spices. Add in your garlic, cumin, and a pinch of saffron. Saffron's the queen of spices. A little goes a long way. Let those spices toast for a minute or two, releasing their incredible aroma. Next, add your lentils. I'm using red lentils here because they break down beautifully and create a creamy texture, but feel free to use green or brown lentils if you prefer a bit more bite. Pour in your vegetable broth, enough to cover the lentils generously, and bring it up to a simmer. Pop a lid on and let it simmer gently for about 25 minutes, or until the lentils are tender and the soup has thickened. While the soup is simmering away, let's talk garnish. This soup deserves a garnish that's as vibrant and flavorful as the soup itself. I like to top mine with a dollop of Greek yogurt, a sprinkle of fresh cilantro, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Chapter 4. Smoky Chipotle. Black bean soup, bold and smoky flavors. Alright, you lot, get ready for a flavor explosion with this smoky chipotle black bean soup. This recipe is going to take your taste buds on a wild ride. This one's for those who like it bold, smoky, and full of character. It's not just a soup, it's an experience in a bowl. It's hearty, satisfying, and perfect for a chilly evening. Imagine curling up with a warm bowl of this soup by the fireplace. First things first, let's get those onions and garlic going. These are the building blocks of flavor for our soup. Finely chop them up. No chunks, please. We want them to melt into the soup. The finer, the better. Heat a good glug of olive oil in a large pot over medium heat and add those onions and garlic. The aroma will start to fill your kitchen. Cook them until they're softened and fragrant, but don't let them brown. We want them to be tender and sweet. Now, for the star of the show, the chipotle peppers. These will give our soup that signature smoky kick. These smoky little devils add a wonderful depth of flavor to the soup. They are the heart and soul of this dish. I like to use canned chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. The sauce itself is packed with flavor. It's like a secret weapon in your pantry. Finely chop the chipotle peppers, adding as much or as little heat as you like. Remember, you control the spice level. Remember, you can always add more later, but you can't take it out. So start with a little and build up. Add the chopped chipotle peppers to the pot with the onions and garlic and cook for another minute or two, allowing those smoky flavors to infuse the oil. This step is crucial for building layers of flavor. Now, pour in your black beans and give everything a good stir. The beans add a wonderful creaminess and body to the soup. Next, pour in your broth. Chicken or vegetable broth, both work well here. The broth will bring everything together. Bring the soup up to a simmer, then reduce the heat and let it bubble away for about 20 minutes, allowing those flavors to meld together. This is where the magic happens. Now, for the final flourish, blending. This step will determine the texture of your soup. You can either blend the soup until smooth and creamy or leave it chunky, depending on your preference. Both versions are equally delicious. I like to blend about half of the soup and leave the rest chunky for a bit of texture. This way you get the best of both worlds, smooth and chunky in every bite. Chapter 5. Creamy Pumpkin and Sage Soup. Autumn in a bowl. Let's finish strong with this creamy pumpkin and sage soup, a true autumnal classic. This soup is rich, velvety smooth, and bursting with warm, comforting flavors. It's like a warm hug in a bowl. First, we're going to sauté some onions and fresh sage to create a flavorful base for our soup. Finely chop the onions and sage leaves. Heat a knob of butter in a large pot or Dutch oven over medium heat. Once the butter has melted, add the chopped onions and sage, and cook until softened and fragrant. Now, for the star of the show, the pumpkin puree. Make sure you're using pure pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling, which is loaded with sugar and spices. Pour the pumpkin puree into the pot with the onions and sage, and stir well to combine. Next, pour in your cream and broth. I like to use a combination of heavy cream and chicken broth for a rich, flavorful soup, but you can use vegetable broth if you prefer. Bring the soup up to a simmer, then reduce the heat and let it bubble away gently for about 15 minutes, allowing those flavors to meld together. Now for the final flourish, blending. Carefully transfer the soup to a blender, and for God's sake let it cool slightly first, unless you want hot soup erupting all over your kitchen. Blend until you have a silky, smooth, vibrantly colored soup. Chapter 6. Soup Herb. So there you have it. 5 unique soup recipes that are sure to wow your friends and family. From the spicy coconut curry to the creamy pumpkin and sage, each of these soups offers something special. Don't be afraid to get creative and make them your own. If you enjoyed these recipes, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below letting me know which soup you're excited to try first, or share your own unique soup creations. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more awesome recipes. Thanks for watching and happy cooking!